What's up, everyone? Welcome to Squirrels in Suits. Got a great show for you today. Shots have been fired at Tim Pool's house. The Supreme Court agrees to hear Trump's Birthright citizenship challenge, and the plot thickens with the Somali welfare scheme. You'll never guess who is implicated. All that and more on Squirrels in Suits.
I can guess.
All right, this headline from Breitbart News. Podcaster Tim Pool reveals gunman in a vehicle opened fire on his property. This occurred on Friday night. He added that nobody was hurt. Tim Pool let the world know on X with the following tweet. Last night, a vehicle approached our property and opened fire. No one was hurt. Our security team is reviewing the incident and will be relaying the report to appropriate law enforcement. This is the price we pay for speaking out against evil. There are many well-wishers on the post. Matt Walsh and Benny Johnson also responded, talking about another man that had been stalking them and wound up in jail. Like, they posted the picture. I think we got it here for you.
This is what happens when the left disagrees, right? They just resort to violence. You know, we can't have actual discourse.
This is pretty wild. I do find it interesting, though, that no video has been put out, like by Tim Pool.
I think that with such an investigation, probably law enforcement wouldn't want that to go out. And it could also be a thing where, like, the video could clearly show who did it, and it might scare them, and they might go running. They can't catch him as easily.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, hopefully at some point it does come out for all of us to see, because everyone wants to have like this immediate like information. Like, we need all of this right now.
That's our culture today, right? Immediate satisfaction. And people don't understand. I see a lot of comments online. They're like, why haven't they caught this guy? Why aren't they in jail? Well, usually there's a bigger investigation at play. And they have to start with, like, is his house, like, public known? Like, is he, you could find it online? Do a lot of people know where he lives?
I mean, I think so. I mean, he's pretty well known around Harper's Ferry in West Virginia. I mean, but also we have seen people do stuff like this to gain attention. I'm not accusing Tim Pool of this. I listen to Tim quite regularly. I really enjoy his show. But we recently had a female, right? It was a girl that paid someone to, like, carve Trump whore into her stomach.
That's the first I've heard of this.
No, Google it real quick.
When you say we have, are you saying Las Vegas?
No, I think it was back east.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was back east, but she paid someone to, like, carve Trump whore into her stomach with a box cutter, and it was a hoax. Like, the right has their own Juicy Sommelier event.
It's like they can't find evidence of these type of, like, events that happen, so they have to create it for themselves to prove, oh, it does happen.
Well, yeah. Well, I remember when Trump was running the first time, like, there were all these reports of, like, supposedly racist white people desecrating black churches, and that was found out to be a hoax.
Dude, former House GOP aide was charged with the...
Oh my
horrible.
Gosh. That is commitment. That is commitment. That ma'am is mentally ill. Like, that looks like something out of Saw.
How did they even...
I don't know. You got the article up. Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's explore this together, because this is the first I've seen of this, and this came out November 19th.
Okay. Well, while you're exploring that, I'm going to bring up this tweet from Candace Owens. So Candace Owens, just before Thanksgiving, tweeted this. Our show will be off air this week as an update. Both the White House and our counterterrorism agencies have confirmed receipt of what I reported publicly. Emmanuel Macron attempted to organize my assassination, per a source close to the first couple. Also, I will again state that the French legionnaires were involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination, but they did not act alone. For all of you who doubt my claims, you can now look to the President of the United States and our intelligence communities to issue a statement to confirm whether I am telling the truth or not. I find this tweet to be very, very dishonest. Look at the wording here. Confirmed receipt. It's like social engineering, because there's a lot of people out there that think someone is actually trying to kill Candace. Like, there's a legitimized, verified.
It's like Cowboy
threat.
Bebop, right? You got, like, this, like, network of, here's the jobs that are available. Have you seen Cowboy Bebop?
No.
It's a bounty hunter show. It's an anime. Anyways, yeah, confirmed receipt. Like there's actual hard evidence.
Yeah, but confirmed receipt, that's weird, right? What those two words mean is you told someone about it. Like, why wouldn't you just say, I told you, I reported this to the authorities?
Well, because confirmed receipt sounds very like I have the Epstein files on my desk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. You're 100% right. That's why I don't like this either. And in this last paragraph or last couple sentences, for all of you who doubted my claims, you can now look to the President of the United States and our intelligence communities to issue a statement to confirm whether I'm telling the truth. Like that's an op. It's dishonest. It's 100% dishonest. I sincerely doubt, and I know Candace Owens, she's very smart. She's very smart. She's a brilliant,
very passionate,
brilliant personality, very, very passionate, but this is just quite simply dishonest. For all of you who doubt my claims, you can now look to the President of the United States, who has confirmed receipt of my allegation, and our intelligence communities to issue a statement to confirm whether I'm telling the truth.
Confirming a receipt is like you said, right? I told them of an allegation. It's an allegation.
Right.
It's not like there's an official investigation going on. There might be, because she is high profile. They might be doing something in the back, but not that it has been made aware to anybody of it being true.
Well, they're using like jumbled words here. She's using jumbled words here to make it seem like this is an actual thing that happened. When, okay, you told the authorities about an attempt on your life. Okay, that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the actual receipts of that substantiate that claim?
Is there a probable cause? Is there, an actual crime?
Yeah. Do you have a name? Is someone following you that has been apprehended by the authorities? I'm sure she gets all kinds of death threats, right?
Yeah.
So what proof do you have that the French government is attempting to kill you? You have nothing. And so I find this to be incredibly dishonest.
Was it her source, like someone on the in the know in France?
Allegedly, I don't know anything
That what
about
she
that.
had said, how she found out.
I don't know anything else about it. This is the only thing I know, and like I'm scrolling through her timeline, and like I don't see. I mean, she said we'll talk about it on the show. I don't listen to Candace Owens because, I mean, when you listen to 5 or 6 podcasts a day like I do, you kind of run out of time, especially when you have a job. So maybe I need to dip into that story. We'll,
to
we'll
me,
see.
I mean, I think Candace is brilliant and beautiful and strong and, but the thing is, I did recently watch some of her podcasts, and it just wasn't really what I remember Candace being, as far as news and information.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't care if the president of France's wife is a transvestite. I don't care whether it's true or not, because it's not my life. Like,
well, it's very drama focused now, from what I understand. Is that true?
it is, and it's conspiracy stuff, and she does a lot of research. I'm not saying that I haven't researched the things that she's passionate about, but I just don't care for it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't, whether it's true or not, it doesn't really affect American politics right now, whether the wife is a transvestite or not.
No, I find that to be patently ridiculous. Now,
I just find it trivial. There's so many other things we can really be focusing on.
Yeah, I was listening to Tim Pool the other day, and he said pretty much the exact same thing. Why are personalities on the right being divided by Israel, a foreign country that really doesn't have anything to do with us, and whether Bridget Macron has male genitals or not?
And then I
That's
watched some of her
ridiculous.
podcasts about Ryan Reynolds, too, and I'm like, you know what? They're Hollywood people. I lived and worked in Hollywood, and I'm not in Hollywood anymore, and I don't really care for Hollywood. I don't care for their drama, or I've been treated poorly on set by celebrities before. I'm not going to name drop them, but there's some really good ones too, but it shouldn't be, unless that's where her podcast is aiming, is like culture and gossip and conspiracies within Hollywood. And
I think females are like her base audience, though.
I see a lot of guys commenting on her comments.
I don't know. You know what would be a good idea to do is we split up like some of the podcasts. Like I'll listen to my 5 or 6 just because I'm into that shit. and you could pick one or two.
Yeah.
So I bring this up because, you know, Tim Pool's reporting that shots were fired on his property, and we're going to wait for more information to come out. I'm not calling Tim Pool a liar by any stretch of the imagination. Tim Pool said shots were fired near his property. Okay, it's hunting season. That's also an option. But so it could be that. It could be some rednecks out in the woods, like we did this. I did this growing up in Mississippi. We just be out in the woods shooting. It could mean that. So hopefully we get an update, and we do wish and pray for Tim Pool's safety if it is an actual targeted threat of violence. But that's why I wanted to bring up this tweet by Candace Owens, because this is just patently dishonest. But did you read up on?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. An artist specializing in sacrification to use a scalpel to lacerate parts of her body in a pattern that she directed ahead of the incident, according to the complaint. So the fact that she had Trump whore written on her insinuates that she's still on the right. Right?
No, I don't think that is in question at all.
Regardless of party, if you're going to be doing fake attacks, and like, you should get caught, and you should serve time, and you should get fined. Like, that doesn't do anybody any favors when trying to have discourse and come to some sort of like compromise politically. It just creates so much more division. I don't care that she's a conservative. Like, that's wrong.
Well, it's 100% wrong. And notice how people on the right are like, this is disgusting. Matt Walsh talked about it on his show too. And nobody's like running to the wall to defend this lady like they did for Juicy Smollett, if y'all remember the Chappelle skit, which is hilarious. You should probably check it out. But yeah, this girl is definitely cutting up. Like, we can't have that. I'm sure she's got a sharp sense of humor.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I specifically wanted to do this podcast so I could tell my bad jokes, and then people could watch them and comment on how horrible they are.
Nobody commented on my bad mom joke the other day. We were talking about Venezuela, and I was like, oh yeah, that's an explosive topic right now.
Oh, yeah. No, that would be pretty good. No, I like that. So I'm also going to pull up this tweet on the Matt Walsh blog. It seems that there is this creep that was, for lack of a better term, stalking Matt Walsh and Benny Johnson, who has since been arrested. Yeah, this guy made very graphic threats against my children and my wife. I won't repeat or post them, though others have. We get a lot of threats, but this was different. It's getting bad out there. People are becoming completely unhinged. It will only get worse from here. And then Benny Johnson, another conservative personality, commented, "This man showed up at my home where my wife and children live. He was ranting about me and went door to door in my neighborhood trying to find me, terrifying my neighbors. We believe he was armed and fled before the cops arrived." And he then explicitly and publicly threatened the lives of Matt Walsh and wife and children. There's a longer post. We're gonna put that out there for you guys in the comments section. But we've talked about it before on the show, and I mean, a lot of other people have talked about it, especially the polls talking about how political violence is much more acceptable in the body politic than it used to be, and certainly more acceptable with the younger generation, more likely on the left than the right. But it's still frighteningly more acceptable.
I don't understand how this type of culture is starting. There's waves of it, right? History. But it can be turned around and used against them too, based on someone else that doesn't agree with them. Like, it's just going to be killing and killing and killing, retaliation.
But according to Politico, the majority of Americans, 55%, expect political violence to increase, according to a poll in October. It's a view held by majorities of Americans across all lines, like gender, age, party affiliation, and level of education, though Democrats and older voters express particular concern. Well, Democrats should be a little bit more concerned because the right's starting to get pissed off and push back. And I'm not here for that. I don't think we should be doing anything like that. We need to have public discourse. We no longer have a homogenous culture. And, you know, a bunch of people out there will say, oh, well, we never had a homogenous culture. We're a melting pot. We're a bowl of jambalaya, as I like to say, whatever. we were homogenous in the sense of in the early 1990s, over 90% of Americans were Christians. We had the same idea about what right and wrong was. We had the same ideas about our Constitution, our founding documents. And that's not to say that we don't need to work to be better or improve and to have a more perfect union, to quote Abraham Lincoln. But we had these similar ideals and we wanted to preserve that which was good about America.
Yeah, to have a job, to get married, have kids, have a white picket fence, like be safe and thrive, live to an old age.
Yeah, and protect this land.
Which is nothing is wrong with that.
No, but now we have the extremes on the left, and then we have the extreme on the right popping up to a much smaller degree, I would like to point out. And both of these people want to burn the system down. Nick Fuentes was recently on Steven Crowder, I think, like yesterday or the day before, and I listened to that whole thing, and Crowder didn't really press him too hard on his positions, and he kind of whitewashed the Stalin birthday comment. He used some of the same language that he's used about Hitler, where he says, "Oh, well, I just find it to be a fascinating historical figure. He brought the Soviet Union out of the Dark Ages and made them into a modern nuclear power within 30 years." And I think that's great. Okay, there were some things that came with that. There were how many tens of millions of people that died under communism. Maybe you should read The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn and then tell me how great you think Stalin is. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give this dude a pass on that. I'm not going to do it.
I once knew a girl. She said, "I accidentally majored in German history." I'm like, "How do you accidentally?" She goes, "I just, found Hitler's history so intriguing, and I just kept taking classes, and then I just majored in German history." I was like, okay.
I didn't even know it was a major.
I didn't think so either, but who knows?
I mean, that's wild. How about just history, maybe? I think that would be valid. German history specifically.
I mean, you live in America. What are you going to do with German history?
I don't know.
Did you see that video of that Vietnamese guy who was going off on Somali culture?
No. You got it?
It was so funny.
I can't deal with you right now.
But he has a message. He has a message for all of us.
If you look at our numbers, it's only
The
about
best
2
part's
million
coming
of
up.
us here in the United States. And out of that 2 million people that we have, majority of us have businesses, scientists, engineers, doctors, bright mind people that given back to this country more than we taken. And we have never asked anybody to bow down or speak our language. Okay? Since when the fuck this stupid ass mayor of the little pirate motherfucking land pirate Somalian in Minnesota have to speak their language and apologizing for those motherfucking crook ass pirates? Since when we have to do that? This is just a fucking crook, and he's a Jewish dude.
He's
What
a
a
what?
shame.
A
You know?
Jewish.
What a shame. What the fuck's wrong with him?
He's a point. There's some cultures, that come here and assimilate and try to give back to, America for giving them opportunities that they never had before. And then there's some cultures that find themselves about 70% on welfare in one state. I mean,
I have no idea. Who would you be talking about? That's a good segue. This headline from the New York Post: what did Ilhan Omar know about the Somalian welfare scheme? There's a lot of pressure right now on Walz and Ilhan Omar because Ilhan Omar proposed the bill in 2020. It was called the Meals Act, where they said, okay, hey, we're going to feed all these kids that aren't getting their free school lunch, which, given what we have learned about the SNAP benefits and the food welfare stuff over the last couple weeks, I find it hard to believe that these kids were only eating at school. I mean, if they were, I'll sit corrected and I'll apologize and say I was wrong, but I supremely doubt that. There was a restaurant, a local restaurant in her district that was at the heart of the scandal and was responsible for about $250 million of the fraud.
What?
And it's called the Safari Restaurant. And the owner, Salim Ahmed Saeed, was convicted for fraud as a part of this whole welfare fraud thing. We got a video of Ilhan Omar handing out meals in front of it. I'm going to play that for you right now. And of course, it's in Arabic because
USA.
Non-Arabic speakers weren't benefiting from this program in Ilhan Omar's district.
Well,
So this restaurant
you
is
got all that?
oh, every word. Glad we had those subtitles there. So thanks whoever did this. Psalm TV, Minnesota.
I found that information as far as what I was talking about for
Okay.
welfare.
What you got?
Daily Mail has posted something from U.S. Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. It says right here, a total tab for this is going to be far beyond the numbers we've already seen reported, which show that 75% of the Somali population in Minnesota is on welfare.
So something else I was reading about that, it wasn't just the food welfare. I mean, before we move on to the next part of that, the owner of the Safari restaurant that you just saw Ilhan Omar in, she held her congressional jump-off party or victory party in 2019 in that restaurant. She's been photographed with this guy, Salem Ahmed Saeed, several times. This guy was spending $9,000 a month at like Neiman Marcus or some high-end department store, and he bought a $2 million home in Minneapolis from his meals. He was supposedly feeding 5,000 people a day and getting paid for it from the government.
Yeah, right.
And supposedly Ilhan Omar has no idea that this happened. It's her district, which is largely comprised of Somalians. She's been in this restaurant multiple times. She knows this guy quite well from what the articles have been saying, but she has no idea. No idea this is going on.
That's crazy.
And to add fuel to that fire, Omar's campaign official, his name is Guhad Hashi Saeed, no relation, I don't think, pled guilty for running a fake food site, so they might be related, actually. And he was also said to be a campaign voter turnout enforcer. So he went out and rallied all the
Grabbed
people
out of their house and said, get off your couch,
Yeah.
go vote.
Yeah, ballot harvesting, maybe, something like that. So there's so far been 80 charged, 59 convictions in the scheme that is only right now at $1 billion. Here's Stephen Miller talking to the press about this.
Based on what we have found so far, we believe that the Somali fraud operation in Minnesota is the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history. We believe that we have only scratched the very top of the surface of how deep this goes. And you're familiar with all the scams with pretending that children have autism who are not in fact autistic, with pretending to enroll people in food programs when in fact nobody was ever enrolled, and engaging in massive fraud, lying, and theft and grift on a scale we've never seen before in American history. The total bill, the total tab for this is going to be far beyond the numbers we've already seen reported. We believe the state government is fully complicit in this scheme, and we believe that what we are going to uncover is going to shock the American people. Look, based on the records that we already have, and this is a significant undercount, by the way, 75% of the Somali population in Minnesota is on welfare. But that's likely a significant undercount of just how much of a financial burden the Somali refugee population is imposing on this country.
And
That's
of course,
crazy.
the left is going to come back and say, this is racist. And then people on the other side, the Trump side. Well, Trump's not helping that argument because he made some pretty bold comments.
He did, and I'll say that some of it is true, some of it is very bold, and I wouldn't say myself. But I don't think they should be able to hold office if they are from another country, because
I don't either.
No, they really shouldn't, because especially if you're coming from a country that's like a refugee type country, they have a different way of life. They may have only known poverty, famish,
Well, they
crime.
did.
And then when you come here, we operate completely different than they do back home. And so you can't just come here and try to assimilate and then run parts of the government based on all you know is corruption and famine and communism or welfare states. You can't come here and even fathom to understand how we operate here.
I mean, you can learn if you want to learn. I mean, Somalia was under a communist dictatorship from the early 60s to the early 90s. And ever since then, it's, as far as I'm aware, I'm no expert on Somali history, but there's been a lot of violence there. There's been a lot of infighting. It's a very, very much impoverished country. And there was another article I was reading about this, and I think we talked about this maybe last week or the week before, but a lot of U.S. tax dollars are going to Al-Shabaab. That is crazy to me.
And that's been confirmed.
And I know someone out there is going to say, oh, well, we armed the Mujahideen when they were fighting the Russians. Yes, we armed the Mujahideen because they were killing Russians. And at the time, that was more important than, goat herders in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
We didn't know what they were going to turn into. We thought we were making friends there, which, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that in the future. We should learn a lesson. Okay, I'll grant you that point. But Minnesota tax dollars, and I'm sure federal tax dollars, because this was a federal Meals Act that Ilhan Omar proposed in Congress, were going to Al-Shabaab. Like, how much of this, didn't you find out how much of the money was going back to Somalia?
I didn't find out how much yet, but it has been confirmed that monies have been tracked to Al-Shabaab. Question 2 is, why can't a 5-year-old vote?
Because they don't have stake, and they don't have the mental, like.
They don't understand, right? They understand, like, if you tell them, oh, that guy's bad, that guy's good, and you give them a ballot, they're going to check the ones that they're told, right?
Sure.
That guy's bad, that guy's good. They only know free meals. They get them from their parents. They know free stuff. I want this. You take someone from another country, like Somalia or another refugee-type country, and they come over here, like, you're not allowed to vote till you're 18. Maybe people who come here from third world countries need to, like, have a period where they assimilate. Like, they can't vote for X amount of years. Well, they can't run for small government offices, for X amount of years. It's because you're new to it.
I don't think you should hold any political office. I'm talking about you shouldn't be a head librarian unless you have been born in the United States. Call me crazy, call me whatever ism you want. I don't care. You need to be born in these United States, and you need to have a stake in this country.
Because the oldest form of espionage is human, right? Is getting human intelligence. Human intelligence is the very first form of spying, right? Someone says to someone, hey, this is how this village is doing this. Now you get people whose benefit is to Somalia now running this country. Espionage is not new. It is the most single powerful form of intelligence you can get.
Yeah.
And the fact that Somalia, the country, is benefiting on the fact that Ilhan Omar is in office and they're getting so much money from one state. It just blows my mind that we haven't made arrests and that we haven't done something drastic. This is a direct national security issue, and I don't know why we're tiptoeing around all of it.
It's because racism. I read an article, I think it was on the Telegraph, where it was an opinion article, so take that for what you will. But this guy was basically saying that Minnesota officials had brought up the fraud to their authorities, their higher command or whatever, and they were all shouted down and called racist. And Ilhan Omar does the same thing. You say anything about her or her people, and you're racist.
I'm so tired of that word.
Well, exactly. That's the biggest transformation, I think, in American politics
the
in the past 8 years.
The fatigue is real.
Oh, absolutely. But even she's caught on video saying, like, how much she cares about Somalia and all that stuff. And I don't blame her. That's your homeland. That's where you're from. That's your, like, cultural identity. I'm not mad at you. I'm just saying you shouldn't be holding office if that is your attitude. I don't. There was a girl on the Whatever podcast, and Brian asked her, like, if the United States and Colombia went to war, whose team would you be on? And she's like, Colombia. And he said, well...
Get out.
That's exactly what he said. One, he said those exact words, so it's kind of cool that you did that. And then he said, but aren't you an American citizen? You have your naturalization papers? You took an oath of allegiance? And she's like, yeah, but Colombia's my home.
No, this is your home. This is your country.
If that's how you feel, go. There's so many people out there, and these 80 people, Some of them were not Somalian. I remember reading through a list, and there was a couple names on there that did not appear to be Somalian. But these people, like, they hate the United States. They want to milk us for everything that they absolutely can because the liberal world order has taught everyone that us and the British Empire are responsible for everybody's problems and ills in the world for now and forever and into perpetuity. And it's so unnerving. It's so unnerving. Ilhan Omar should not be in Congress. She should not be a senator unless she was born here. And I don't think she was born here. But she might be feeling a little hot around the collar. According to the BBC, Trump says he does not want Somalis in the U.S. as ICE plans Minnesota operation. And President Trump, quote, "I don't want them in our country. I'll be honest with you," he said during a cabinet meeting on Tuesday. Trump said the U.S. would go the wrong way if we keep taking garbage into our country. And, of course, the left is going to seize on that and say, oh, you're being racist. Not all Somalians are garbage. No one's saying all Somalians are garbage. But we are saying that mass migration is a problem in this country, and I think most people recognize that.
Now, circling back to that Vietnamese guy, right? He talked about how the Vietnamese community came in and they made a lot of restaurants and shops that we use every day, right? We go to restaurants that are Vietnamese, we go get our nails done, and they have become very successful businesses, and they have assimilated to the American way. They have pride in it. I know a lot of people in the Vietnamese community. I grew up right near a Vietnamese block.
Enclave.
Yeah, and It was called White Center, and it was everything but white, but there was a lot of Vietnamese.
I grew up, where I grew up in South Mississippi, I grew up just north of Biloxi, and there was a very, very large Vietnamese population. They were all fishermen.
Oh, yeah.
They're all of them. Like,
they work hard.
They do. Like, I have Vietnamese friends growing up, and I never looked at them any differently than I did, any other American.
Yeah, but the thing, too, is, like, their businesses really, why they're so successful is that they cater to anybody and everybody, right? They've got great food. You feel welcomed when you go there. Everyone wants to go get their nails done. They have really provided a great, community service to a lot of people. Now you think about Somalis and their businesses that they may have started. I can't tell you if I've ever even eaten Somali food, or if I would even be welcome in there without a burqa on.
Well, if you go to Minneapolis, you might get a chance to find out because that's where most of their population is concentrated.
People are tribal, right? They want to kind of stay where other people are. There's just a lot of them in Minnesota. And the businesses that they do have, I'm not going to go shopping for a Saturday night burqa. They're just basically opening businesses for themselves.
Yeah, there was a video on X. It was trending yesterday where this barista, some girl at Starbucks or a coffee shop or whatever, was flipping off these guys, and they were Muslim men. And apparently the whole story was they were talking trash to her for not wearing a hijab.
Yeah, heck no.
And the girl was like, screw you. We ain't doing this. Not here, buddy.
Was that in Minnesota?
I don't know, but there's another troubling story out of Minnesota. So a rapist has been set free only to rape again weeks later.
Shocking.
Abdemmahat Muhammad was set free by Minnesota authorities after being charged with kidnapping and raping a woman over several days in September. He had been previously arrested twice for rape, one in May 2024, rape of a woman, similar circumstances, and he was charged and convicted of the rape of a child in 2017.
Gross.
And this guy is out on the streets. Why? Someone please explain it to me. Why is this guy out on the streets?
When a culture openly accepts that a 9-year-old girl is old enough to be intimate with, and you bring that into our culture, that is just setting everything up for failure.
Yeah, so not all cultures are the same.
No.
We've tried to be, in this modern liberal world order, which is, ever since World War II, we've tried to export liberal Western values across the world, and it hasn't exactly worked at all. That's why, to this day, which pisses me off, we have so many Chinese nationals in our Ivy League universities. Because we said, we're going to educate them. They're going to go back to China, and we're going to indirectly export democracy and not have to, force it. That hasn't worked, guy.
Do you know what happened because of all that?
What?
Many cases of espionage happened, and our secret academia, like our research, was getting funneled right back to China. I did a paper on it. There were so many people that came over from China to go to these like Ivy League colleges and do these really advanced confidential studies, and all the information was sent back to China.
AG Pam Bondi rips into Minnesota for letting this rapist out. Like, he was locked up in September, and he got out, and he raped again recently in the last couple weeks. So this Mohammed Cat, who entered the U.S. during the Obama administration, is charged with kidnapping, sexually assaulting a woman. I don't know why. Like, why aren't you dead? Why, you raped a child, and now the feds have picked up the charges because apparently Minnesota doesn't care about protecting the women in their state.
Did I tell you about the rapist they let go in my community?
No, tell me.
2014. I was living in the most northern part of LA County, in between Victorville and Palmdale. Right, it was a small town called Lake Los Angeles, and there was no lake. There was this like serial rapist who had been in prison for decades, and they would periodically be like, "Okay, we're gonna let you out," and he would say, "I'm gonna rape again," and they did anyway. They let him out, and he raped again, multiple women, and then they put him back in jail, and then however many years later, they're like, "We're gonna let you out," and he's like, "I'm gonna rape again." He tells them that, and they let him out, and he raped again. And then when I was pregnant with my daughter, we had gotten a community news, like a information that they were going to let him out, and they got a house for him in our neighborhood. And just to let us know that he was going to be there. I was so irritated with that and so nervous. I went and bought my very first gun. I'm like, I was ready for this. And like, we didn't live near anything. It was like in the middle of the desert. And one day I was driving home, and this cop car was following us. And we pulled into our driveway. And he pulled into our driveway, and I was like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Oh, with just things going on nowadays, what's going on in the community. I just want to make sure you guys have a gun. Do you have a gun?"
It's odd for California.
This is an LA County police officer that was asking me if I had a gun. And of course I wasn't going to say yes. I was like, no, we don't. He's like, "Here, come to my car. Let me show you a few guns that are good for first-time people." And he showed me some Glocks, and on his computer in his car. I was just terrified because he wasn't going to be far from us. And he kept saying, "I'm going to rape again." And he did.
That had to make news. Is there like a story on that? Because this cat, no, listen to what your justice system, America, listen to what your justice system did for this Minnesota rapist. So he raped a 15-year-old girl and was forced at gunpoint to perform oral sex on another man. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison for the attack on the teenager, but the sentence was stayed for 5 years, meaning he served no prison time. Additionally, he received 5 years probation and 364 days in the Hennepin County workhouse, but received credit for time served. He was sentenced to 14 months in prison for the 2024 sexual assault, but that sentence was also stayed, and also included another 364 days in the Hennepin County workhouse with credit for time served, plus a single day of probation. They didn't do anything to this guy. This guy raped a child.
Yeah, they just let him go. Like they did this guy. His name was Christopher Hubbart. I'll show you a screenshot of this right here. Apparently, after I had moved away, they arrested him again for failing 5 polygraph tests and several terms of his conditional release.
Well, that's better than rape.
Yeah, he admitted to raping dozens of women between 71 and 82. They just kept letting him out.
And you have to ask yourself, like, why? And we know the answer. The answer is because the omni cause must prevail. Jails are bad, standards are bad, Judeo-Christian morals or Christian morals are bad, America's bad, and it's our fault that these people act like this. And we have to somehow make amends for our past sins, so we're just going to let these people rape the women in our streets.
Part of my wondering was if they were letting this guy go and letting the entire community know that he was going to be there, was hoping that somebody would do vigilante justice on him because they couldn't just keep him in prison anymore.
Yeah, but the state should be doing that.
Yeah, they should be. But then they're putting it out into the community, sending all these letters out to people, telling people to buy guns, and, making them scared. They wanted somebody to take care of them because they didn't want him in prison anymore.
Well, apparently not. They kept letting him go.
even though he physically and literally said, I'm going to rape again.
That's just so crazy. So we have some good news out of the courts today. There's been a lawsuit filed at the federal level that could topple the heart of race-based federal programs. Everyone says all kinds of things about Trump. There's some good things that he has done. And one of those is securing the Supreme Court for at least another 15 or 20 years in the conservative side. And here's another great point. So apparently the government, again, there's my favorite word, the government had a assumption of socially disadvantaged people and entitled certain races to specific benefits. According to Daily Wire, the case was brought on behalf of Revier Technologies, an artificial intelligence company that was denied a small business credit initiative subsidy because its owner, Matthew Schultes, is white, and Young America Foundation, a conservative group, said that the interns in its college program were barred from a Department of Homeland Security fellowship that relied on the SBA's disadvantaged classification. Agencies across the federal government rely on decades-old Small Business Administration designation that, according to federal regulation, automatically applies to anyone of certain races. The the federal government's pervasive use of race as a proxy for determining who is socially advantaged and therefore who receives contracts, grants, loans, investment capital, opportunities, and other benefits is unconstitutional. It must be stopped, end quote, the suit says. So I did just some minor digging on this. This race-based rule goes back to 1953 and is relied upon by 20 different government agencies. So this has been going on since 1953. Now, one could make the argument, and I would be open to the argument, that especially during the Civil Rights era and the years immediately following the Civil Rights era, we needed something like affirmative action. We needed government intervention in this to ensure the culture change, because black people shouldn't be forced to sit at the back of the buses. They shouldn't have to drink out of
for sure.
different water fountains. Like, we don't want that in the country. I certainly don't. There were people back then that did. But that is not us. That is not an American ideal. That is America failing in its ideals.
Those are some of those temporary solutions to get people back on the right track.
Sure.
So, yeah, something that was really needed back then, right, to make sure that the black population got the fair treatment that they got, it's a little different in modern days now.
Yeah, I mean, this is 2025. I'm not aware of any Jim Crow laws. I'm not aware of any statutes or laws that say, white people can do this, black people can't do that. And then, of course, the counter argument is, well, it's just so embedded in the culture, it just happens, and you're racist if you don't see it. I completely disagree with that. I refute that in the strongest absolute terms. That's just crazy to me. And if you need an example of racial preference, we got a story out of Portland. According to the New York Times, a black man acquitted of stabbing white man by Portland jury after victim said the N-word following the attack. So I haven't looked too deeply into the story, but there is a video of a African-American male stabbing a white guy. And, of course, that's aggravated assault. That's a pretty serious felony.
Yeah.
And according to the New York Post, a Portland, Oregon jury has cleared a black man of assault charges for stabbing a white man after it was revealed that the victim said the N-word after the attack. I don't know about you. I might say all kinds of crazy things if someone stabbed me.
I don't know if I would say the N-word just because that's not in my vocabulary, but at the same time, like, you can't have an after-provoked charge. Does that make sense? You can't, like, I don't know. Even if he was saying it before and that's why he attacked him, like, he still attacked him with a knife.
According to this report, Edwards admitted to stabbing Howard, but claimed it was in self-defense after the victim had used racial slurs. I'm sorry. You don't get to stab somebody for something they say. Yes, they're an asshole for saying something like that.
Yes.
But that's a defense for stabbing someone? Is this the precedent that we're setting? Mean words mean I can kill you?
No, words are just that. And especially because it's not illegal to be a jerk. It's not good to be a jerk, and you shouldn't be saying those words. But it's not illegal. And I don't think there's any reason to be stabbing someone over it.
Yeah, because you're a rational human being. So you want to talk about privilege or racial privilege, folks? This is privilege. Like, if I stabbed or shot somebody for them calling me a honky or a cracker or a hillbilly or whatever it is, I would quite correctly be thrown in jail and hopefully stay there. But given what we've been seeing from our justice system lately, maybe they'd let me out on good behavior, or give me a suspended sentence.
That's only if you rape someone.
Yeah, that's only if I rape a 15-year-old.
Gosh.
Then the sentence will be suspended. So maybe not for shooting someone, but I would hope that I would be thrown in jail for quite some time for doing something like that, because that is hard and evil. But Portland, Oregon, doesn't think so.
It's Portland.
We've surrendered Portland to the left.
You know what Portland's good for?
What is Portland good for?
Portland is good for a Saturday afternoon when you drive down from Seattle to go shopping tax-free, and then you go back home. That's it. As long as you can make your way through all the homeless people and crazies on the streets. But yeah, it's good for no tax.
As long as Antifa isn't rioting.
Exactly. I mean, I haven't honestly been to Portland in over 10 years.
Yeah, I think they only protest on days that end in Y. So.
Oh, okay.
So.
I'll wait till another day of the week.
Good luck.
It gets created.
So some more interesting news. The Supreme Court is going to hear Trump's birthright citizenship challenge to the 14th Amendment. Many of you probably remember, or if you're not aware, hours after being sworn in, Trump issued a executive order halting birthright citizenship. Of course, it was immediately challenged by the courts. Mm-hmm. Everybody and their sister, the ADL, the ACLU, filed suit against the Trump administration. And in the summer, the Trump administration filed a countersuit saying that the district courts had overstepped their authority. And late June, I think it was July, actually. I don't know if you remember. It was late July. The Supreme Court decided to limit the ability of district court judges to issue nationwide injunctions, which I think that is quite correct. That was entirely too broad, and judges were definitely overstepping their authority. They were activists. They found whatever mental gymnastics, they went through whatever mental gymnastics they needed to do to get to their ideological conclusion. But for those of you who may not know what the 14th Amendment says or talks about, I'm going to pull up the actual text here. So the 14th Amendment, just to give you some backstory, was in answer by the federal government to the Dred Scott decision in 1857, which basically limited black people's rights to be citizens in the United States. Okay, so 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States in the state wherein they reside. So the Trump administration and conservatives at large take issue with the clause and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. What does this mean? So there was a case in 1898. It was a man by the name of Kim Wong Ark, who was born in the United States in 1873 to legal Chinese immigrant residents. They wound up returning to China. He went back to China to find a wife, and then he returned. And due to the moratorium on immigration, specifically to Chinese immigration, the government said, you're not a citizen, you're not allowed to be here because you swear an allegiance to the Emperor of China. And the Supreme Court, in a 6-2 decision, stated that Wong was actually an American citizen because he was born in the United States.
To resident aliens.
To legal resident aliens. I would like to point that out. Legal resident aliens. Now, the modern challenge to that is, well, illegals, are they, one, subject to the jurisdiction thereof if they are still Mexican citizens and they are in our country illegally and not following our laws? And I think that's going to be an interesting argument. We're probably going to get a decision on that in, I don't know, I'd say next summer. The article said that they'll start hearing oral arguments in April. So obviously the opposition is going to use this Wong versus California. I think it's Wong versus California.
You think that's going to be the precedence?
Yeah, they're going to use that as court precedent. But I think we're looking at a different situation now, and liberals are fine to go with court precedent as long as it serves their purpose.
In their cause, yeah.
Yeah, they're originalists when it comes to the Second Amendment. They want you to have a musket.
Are they going to cut out the whole legal resident alien part? Just say aliens?
Well, I doubt the opposition is going to say legal residence. I'm sure the Trump administration will say, hey, this Wong case is completely different than what we have going on here. Because right now, under the court's interpretation of the 14th Amendment, presently, someone could be from whatever part of the world, X country in the world, fly into JFK, drop a baby, and that child is the president, or that child is not the president. The child is a citizen of the United States.
That child can become the president.
That child can become the president. There you go. Thank you for saving me. Which is an absolutely ridiculous contention. I mean, I don't think you're supposed to fly when you're like that far along anyway, but that's effectively what could happen under the court's current interpretation. And
Yeah.
I think that's wrong. And again, I talk about it a lot, incentive structures. We don't have to have all these crazy ICE raids if we remove the incentives for these people to be here. Period. We don't. They will leave on their own. If they can't make no money, have no job, or have a place to live, and they can't use a child as a way to stay in the United States, they're going to leave on their own.
We see a lot of people using children for their own benefit, even American citizens on welfare, right? I know a few that just keep having children just so they can stay on welfare.
That's gross.
It's a welfare mom. It's multiple fathers. They just like getting pregnant, like having kids, and they don't have to work, and they get everything given to them.
They don't have to actually take part in society.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I don't know. I sometimes think that I'd almost like the idea of going back to the original constitutional interpretation of who could vote and who was a citizen. Like, you had to be a landowner, but then that's kind of prejudicial against, people that are renting or 18-year-olds or,
Yeah.
adults, because I think if you're old enough to die for this country, you should definitely vote. I 100% agree with that. But I don't think people on welfare should be able to vote, because no one's going to vote for themselves to have a pay cut.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't understand why the president can't be a foreign-born, but other government office can.
Well, at the time, a lot of the colonists, they were immigrants.
Yeah.
They had come over from England and from Europe. So if you made that rule back then, there'd be nobody in government. I don't think too many of the founders were actually born in the colonies.
And for all the people that are, like, born and raised here, they're like, oh, the colonizers came. Like, yeah, your ancestors? Like, I'm pretty sure, unless both of your parents came from another country, you probably have some sort of lineage to some sort of colonizer who was an immigrant, by the way.
Well, I think what people fail to realize is all countries, every country, has been formed by some form of conquest and violence.
Every single one.
Period. Like the Norman invasion of Britain. And then the Romans who went into North Africa and into Gaul and into what is now modern day Switzerland and Germany. The Roman Empire was formed by conquest. We know this. Alexander the Great's empire, formed by conquest. America was formed by conquest. We killed all the Indians that wanted to fight us.
But can I also add that me being Native American myself, even though people in the comments are like, you're not Native? Okay. I'm Native. I'm Pacific Northwest Native. And mind you, there was conquest even then. Neighboring tribes hated each other, right? They always fought. My tribe, Okanagan, wanted nothing to do with certain other tribes, especially from Oregon. And some were way more violent than others. My tribe was not a very violent tribe. So, yeah, there was conquest even amongst Native Americans. It's just kind of how it is. Human nature to go to conquest.
Well, it's the human condition.
Yeah.
It's 100% the human condition, and the only thing that can save us is Jesus. So.
I love Jesus.
Yes, me too.
That is so true. Oh, we need Jesus.
That's it. We all do. And even if you don't believe and you're not into religion or the supernatural, you definitely benefit from Christian morals, especially in the western part of the world, in the Western Hemisphere.
You benefit from Christian wherever you are, even though you might face persecution.
There's something I do want to talk about on the show eventually. Is I've been reading a lot about apologetics and like the historical evidence for the validity of the scriptures as far as them as an accurate historical document, it's a very, very, very interesting topic.
Even Jesus was persecuted for his beliefs and who he was. You know, it's not like he had an easy life.
Nope.
No, he was supposed to die on the cross for our sins. And there's certain countries where being a Christian, you're going to get beheaded. You know, that's just the truth.
Muslim countries, you got to pay a tax.
Yeah.
And you
For
can't
protection.
You can't proselytize. You can't have worship. You can't have a church, and you have to pay a tax for being non-Muslim.
Or you just die. Yeah.
Or that probably more in Iran for that. Conversion is definitely, depending on where you are in the Muslim world, conversion is definitely either you go to prison or you get executed. So, but I would definitely like to talk about that one day because that is a absolutely fascinating topic.
Do you know there's people who are denying that the things going on in Nigeria are going on?
Yeah, it's mostly the Muslims. I've seen that online.
Yeah. That's not happening. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, I follow some guys on X that are from Nigeria. They're Nigerian Christians that live in the north. I've talked about them. Yeah, it's like weekly there's something going on in Nigeria.
Well, I hope he stays safe.
Yeah, me too. I really do. I pray for all my Christian brothers and sisters that they are safe and free from persecution, but that is not how it goes.
Life isn't fair. Tell your local liberal.
And facts, and to quote Ben Shapiro, facts don't care about your feelings. But that's all for the show today. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the show with everyone you know. You can follow me on X at @Krillin. And
I don't really post on X, but I'm awkward girl. Just normal spelled on X.
Okay. Hopefully we have Frank back next week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.